Jumpa lagi dengan Strategi Channel, saya Dandi Mahendra. Hari ini saya dan rekan saya Fauzan akan membawa Anda semua dalam satu wawancara eksklusif dengan Duta Besar Rusia, yaitu Madam Lyudmila Vorobyova. Tentu ini menjadi sesuatu yang menarik untuk kita bersama-sama menyimak apa pandangan pemerintah Rusia terhadap situasi global yang terjadi hari ini. Untuk itu, jangan kemana-mana, kita lanjutkan setelah yang berikut ini. I think we are going to back to about a little bit in a geo-economical situation regarding to what it calls Brics. Is it Brics is one of the polar of multipolar is going to emerge. Can you tell us about Brics and also about the plan of making a new currency based on gold standard and rare earth elements? Is that true about it?
Brics is, of course, this structure organization that actually unites countries that are seeking just and fair world order, which is not based on equal dominance of the West. That's why there are many countries who wants to join BRICS actually, and soon there will be a summit in South Africa, and there are a lot of dimension of cooperation in the BRICS, and you rightly noted that one of it's to come to distance from the US dollar. Or euro, because
de-dollarization.
Because also it's not because we hate dollar or something. No, but look what was happening in the last year and a half. Americans are using their currency also as an instrument for dominating the world financial structure. And the sanctions, when they are, for instance, disconnecting Russian banks from the SWIFT system and controlling all the transactions in dollars. Why should we use dollars if they want to discriminate us?
Controlling all the capital flows.
If they use dollar to discriminate us, what's the way out? Not to use the dollar.
Yes.
So, and of course, our trade now with BRICS countries, for instance, with China and India, a big part of this trade is not going through dollar transactions. It's in renminbi or Indian rupees. So, of course, it's something that is very natural, and it's not because it's driven by ideology, or it's just a necessity. It's actually what the countries are not. The world is not blind when the main currency in the world is used as an instrument of dominance. Countries want to get away from it because they don't want to be controlled and dominated. That's very easy. And of course, the natural way is the de-dollarization.
Is there any plan of BRICS to enlarge the membership of the?
There are many countries that would, more than 20, that actually would like to become. Yes, they are. Of course, consultations on that. But BRICS is a multilateral forum, so everyone. They need to be a consensus on that, but the BRICS countries are considering many candidates.
Indonesian Eurasian caucus is very close right now, and is they held a free trade agreement
Yeah,
Uh,
Economic Union Free Trade Agreement.
with sanction from West to the Russian, are you think that relation in Indonesia and Eurasian caucus it will succeed?
Of course, it will succeed.
Mhm.
Eurasian Economic Union, it comprises 5 countries: Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Armenia. It grew up from a customs union,
Yes.
and now it has a higher degree of cooperation, integration, and last December we engaged. We started negotiations between the Eurasian Economic Union and the government of Indonesia to have a free trade zone, not only with Russia but with the whole
Yes.
Eurasian Economic Union, because Russia, as a member of the Eurasian Economic Union, cannot have a free trade just as one country.
Yes.
So we had already 2, if I'm not mistaken, rounds of negotiations on the expert level, and it's going quite well. Our experts are quite optimistic that maybe in 2 years' time we
Yes,
will
2 years' time.
reach this agreement. And of course, it will be a breakthrough in our trade relations, and I think it will be for the benefit of both Indonesia. Indonesia will have access to the market of the whole Eurasian Economic Union, and for Russia, of course, as a member of this organization. So I don't. For your information, also, we have this kind of agreements in Vietnam, with Vietnam and
Yes.
Singapore.
Oh.
And since we signed these agreements, our trade volume has gone up with both of these countries. So we are very optimistic, and we don't think that the sanctions, which are applied only to Russia, will. But even I don't see how the sanctions can affect this process.
Oh, that's not effective. So Indonesia has trade deficit, so pretty big with Russian, but with a higher import of non-oil and gas commodities. It's an interesting fact. Are there any obstacle to importing oil and gas from Russia, or is the primary driven by demand factors from Indonesia?
Well, there are always obstacles, of course. There's always competition, but it's, first of all, it's demand, of course. And there are always ways, if you have demand, it can be done. Actually, the trade is going on. So, and also, if we look at our trade with China and India, it has doubled or tripled in the last year, especially in oil and gas. So it's a commercial thing mostly.
Oh no, there's not any issue from Indonesia can buy oil and gas from Russia.
If there is a demand, if there is a will, it
Could
can be
happen.
done. It can be
Okay,
done.
okay.
Okay, I want to know your point of view about, what is developed just a moment ago about AUKUS,
Mhm.
the three countries agreement involving Australia and then UK and then United States of America. What's your opinion about
My opinion
as
is
regional?
that this kind of, as they say, minilateral configurations in the region, actually, they don't bring more security.
Okay, don't.
Of course,
Yes.
of course. How can it bring more security to the region? Why Australia needs nuclear submarine?
Yeah.
They are saying that there will be no nuclear arms on this submarine. Can we be sure?
Okay.
Can Indonesia be sure?
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
If they don't want to
Yeah.
put nuclear arms on that, why do they need nuclear
Yeah.
submarines?
Yeah.
How this
We can
trilateral?
give the guarantee about it.
Can you believe the guarantees from?
Just like what happened before, but yes, it's a gentleman agreement. You believe in that? I remember that. Yes, in whatever.
Can you believe? We need to know history.
Yeah.
Because now we understand we cannot believe just gentleman agreement.
Yes.
They don't commit.
Yeah.
We have a saying in Russia, a joke that you are the master of your word. You give the word, then you take it back. You're a master of your own word. But can you be sure? Will AUKUS bring more security for Indonesia or for the region? Or any kind of this, minilateral configurations like Quad, also,
Or
it's not. We are in the region as well, in Asia Pacific. We are part of the region. What Russia needs, it's a transparent system of security for all. We call it inclusive security. That means everyone should feel secure, not just Australia, United States, and Great Britain, or Japan and Australia. Everyone should be included. Why you need more division lines? And it will not bring more security. Again, it's this principle of divide and rule.
oh,
If countries are divided in this, you will rule more easily.
so also about what the political tension geopolitically in East Asia regarding to the relation about the China and Taiwan government. So hypothetically question, is it possible that it can become involved to like an open war?
Well, I don't want to make forecasts. Of course, I'm not in a position to do so. But I think no one actually doubted the one China policy. We all support, including the United States, we all support one China policy. And we, in Russia, we think all the tensions should be resolved in a peaceful way. If United States thinks in a different way, and what they are doing actually shows that they are not trying to calm these tensions, but for instance, sending their officials to Taiwan, they are pouring oil into the fire. It's question for the United States why they're doing it. What are their real, not the words, but what are their real intentions? So, and again, if you look at their documents, they openly say that China is their main strategic rival. What do they mean by that? We don't support. We oppose this kind of wording. We don't see other countries as our rivals or enemies. Actually, we were forced to do so when the sanction policies have been imposed on us, and now we have this. We call them non-friendly countries, which impose sanctions on us, but they are what they do is very unfriendly, of course, to put it mildly. But what are the real intention of the United States? Do they want to calm these tensions, or they want to make them stronger?
So the AUKUS is not the answer of the situation in Taiwan and China. Is really related about the AUKUS?
But you see, I think everyone agrees that this kind of configurations, they in a sense are all directed against China. Even the Indo-Pacific concept, I'm not saying about Indonesian and ASEAN. It's a totally different concept and inclusive. But the Indo-Pacific concepts adopted by United States, Japan, they're anti-Chinese, of course, because China is also a threat to the dominance of the West. China has, as we've been talking about, China has won the game according to the rules, the previous set of
Yes,
rules.
the
So
rules.
now
Yeah.
they are trying to change the rules of the games to prevent China from, winning.
Madam, is there any plan to enhance military relation with Indonesia or Southeast Asia?
Actually, we have a good defense cooperation with
Mhm.
Indonesia and with our friends in Southeast Asia. And by defense cooperation, it's not only selling arms,
Mhm.
but also we have exchange of visits. Quite recently, as you know, 3 Navy ships from Russia took part in the Komodo Navy exercise
Mhm.
near Medan. And also they came to Surabaya for a ceremony to install a commemorative plaque to the Russian-made submarine, which is now a museum and a monument in Surabaya. So we have a comprehensive plan of exchanges of delegation. We invite our Indonesian partners to be part of international military forums that Russia hosts in our country, and we hope, for instance, this weekend we are celebrating the Day of the Navy, and it's in St. Petersburg. And it's a big celebration. There is Navy parade. Usually the president attends, and we hope also a delegation from Indonesia will be able to come. We invited our Indonesian partners.
Now let's talk about current situation in Ukraine. Is there a peace plan by Russia to end war in Ukraine?
Yes, as I told you, demilitarization, denazification, and preventing Ukraine from becoming part of NATO, protecting people of Lugansk and Donetsk, and protecting our own security. That's when we achieve these targets.
In early February of this year, President Putin spoke about traditional family values in his speech. This received a positive response from the Indonesian public. What the strategic goals does the president aim to achieve with the speech?
May I just add something for the previous question? On the peace plans on Ukraine, that there are many peace plans produced by our friends and partners, and we appreciate the good intentions of this country. There was a peace plan by China, African Union, Pa Prabowo Subianto, in Shangri-La. We appreciate it very much. We understand that all these ideas are driven by good intention, of course. The problem is not the lack of peace plans. There is a peace plan by Zelensky, but it's totally unrealistic, because the main point that we should go back to 1991, when Crimea was part of Ukraine, that all these new territories will also be. It's totally unrealistic. It cannot be served as a basis. It's absurd, I would say. But of course, other suggestions they could have been considered. The problem is not a lack of peace plan or parties who would like to mediate. The problem is that Ukrainian side immediately rejects any peace plan. You remember the reaction to Pa Prabowo's plan from Ukrainian side? No, immediately no, just no, without a second of consideration. And may I also remind you that last year we had peace talks with Ukrainians in Turkey.
Mhm.
And we actually reached an agreement with them. It
Yeah.
was drafted and it was on the brink
Yes.
of being signed.
Yes.
And at that time, our troops were near Kiev, 20 kilometers from Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. According to this agreement, we should have removed the troops, and then the peace would have been restored.
Mm.
What happens? Again, we remove the troops. Boris Johnson comes to Kiev, and immediately Zelensky ordered his delegation to walk out from the talks. Agreement never signed. Moreover, later on, Zelensky issues a decree forbidding any dialogue with Russia. So it's not about absence of a peace plan. It's an absence of goodwill or any of intention from the Ukrainian side to stop this, to resolve this through dialogue. On the question on traditional
Family values.
You know, our society is quite traditional, I would say. In this sense, we are much closer to Asia and even to the Muslim world than to Western Europe now. With the lack of values, I would say. You know, in our tradition, for instance, we take care of our children until they have their own grandchildren. We don't send them away.
That's so
when
Asian.
they're-
That's so Asian. Living in the house
It's
together,
absolutely
big family like that.
grandchildren taken care by their grandparents. You know, my daughter, she was taken care by my mom. While I was working, my mom was taking care of her. So, and that's normal.
Yeah.
That's normal for Russian families. We don't put our parents into homes. We take care of them. Of course, if they're sick, of course, until we can, we take care of them. So we care about religion. You know, in Russia, we have 30 million Muslims. Which are not migrants, but some are migrants, but the majority, their ancestors lived in Russia for centuries. We have Christians, we have Buddhists, and we have this tradition of good, you know, living together all in peace. And religion is quite important. Russian Orthodox, Muslim, Buddhist, so we're quite a religious country. We are against the propaganda of LGBT. We're not, you know, we're not saying that that LGBT should be criminalized as such. What you do, it's your own business, you know. But propaganda, especially if it's directed towards children, until they are not adults, they shouldn't be target of this kind of propaganda. When you are adult, you decide what you like or what you don't like. But until then, you shouldn't be, you know, brainwashed. In this way. You know, we have I think it was last year, our parliament adopted a law against the propaganda of LGBT, and we were criticized, you know, very much breach of human rights. It's not about human rights. It's about children being target of this propaganda. They are not adults yet. They cannot decide. They can be easily made to believe something wrong. So in this sense, we are a traditional society. And also, you know, the problem with, human rights, of course, is very important. Well, we're not denying that. But with all this, deviation, I would say, from traditional rights, people get more self-centered, more isolated. The families are divided, and when people are isolated, again, they're easily manipulated.
Yeah, and then they live in an illusion.
Yeah, and they're living in a world of illusion, and they don't care about what is happening,
Yeah.
outside, and they're easily manipulated. That's the problem. So again, you do what you want in your own country, but please don't impose it on us. That's what we
That's
need.
the strong message.
Yeah.
So, what's
It is about Indonesia and Russia. I wonder why there are not many Russian-made goods circulating in Indonesia.
Well, yeah, we need to do more. We need to do more. That's true. Our trade volume last year was less than $4 billion US, and of course, though it has grown, but it's not enough. And we, as our embassy, were actually working to make our trade volume bigger, more investors from Russia, more Indonesian businesses going to Russia, and every crisis, in a sense, is a window of opportunity. So we see more and more interest from Russian businesses coming to Indonesia. We see Indonesian businesses going to Russia. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was a big fashion festival, an innovation festival in Moscow, and there was a delegation from Indonesia headed by Ibu Poppy Darsono. They brought fashion, batik, and it was a big success in Moscow. So you see, things are going on, and we hope that we will see more Russian goods in Indonesia. But you can see a lot of Indonesian goods in Moscow. You go to a shop, you will see Indomie. You will see coffee. Especially 3-in-1.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we are one of the biggest importance of palm oil from Indonesia. We are not imposing any conditions, unlike some other countries. So we are quite optimistic about our economic relations, but we need to work hard to make it happen.
It's like film and Masha and the Bear is highly popular. Is there any similar show that will be introduced in
We
Indonesia?
hope so. We also had recently a delegation from the Agency of Creative Businesses from under the government of Moscow, and they had contacts with the animation studios. They have plans to have some joint projects. I hope it will happen, and also some video games produced jointly. I don't think video games is a good thing, but that's my personal opinion. But yes, Masha and the Bear is also very popular, of course, in Russia. My daughter's name is Masha.
That's so cute. In a survey conduct, the majority of the Indonesian public blame US and NATO as cause of the war in Ukraine.
They're right.
What is your response to this?
Absolutely right. We are very appreciative that Indonesians actually understand the cause of this conflict. They understand that it's not about Ukraine. Basically, it's this geopolitical confrontation between Russia and the West. And Ukraine is just a victim of Western policies. They are using Ukrainian people as just an instrument, and they don't care about Ukrainians. And my question also is, the government and the president of Ukraine, why they are again protecting, serving the interest of foreign countries and letting their own people suffer. And that's terrible.
Yes. Perhaps peace will come into Europe. And what do you think about relation with Russian and Europe afterward? It will be business as usual, or it never be same again?
Oh, it will not. It will not be same again. But in a sense that we lost all our illusions about the West, and I think the only way we can resume our more or less normal dialogue and cooperation with Europe if they treat us their equal partners, not as people who have the right to tell us how to live or to give us orders, but as our equal partners. Again, we are not seeking global dominance. We are not in no way that we want to take place of the United States as a world hegemon. We think that the world doesn't need an hegemon, actually. So, of course, peace will be restored. No doubt about it. But we think that this transition from unipolar world to the more just and fairer multipolar world will happen sooner or later.
Okay. I think everyone who live in the earth want to live in a peaceful and then prosperous. I think no matter from which country, but everyone want to live in peaceful. So, in your opinions, of course, in the point of view of Russian government, how to make it happen?
Actually, we are making it happen.
How to make it happen?
It's a very it's a very complicated question, of course, but you are right. People in the world, of course, they seek peace and prosperity and well-being. But I think everyone should do what they can, and actually not allow other parties to dictate what to do and impose values or the lack of values that are not that are foreign to these societies. We all have the right to have our cultures, our traditions, and we need to protect it. We don't need to give in to the pressure from parties that don't have peace and prosperity of our countries in mind. We need to protect. We need to stand firm and actually to have a united, front, not to give in to this kind of efforts from other parties.
I remember what President Sukarno said, that there is no more neo-colonialism, imperialism. Stop imperialism in every form.
Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah. As compared to the US and Europe, the Indonesian public remember friendship, like Dandi said before, with Russian, like so many existing landmarks such as Patung Tugu Tani and else, and even in central Kalimantan, there's a road it still exists till now. So, are there any efforts to enhance the friendship between the two countries?
But of course, yes. I think I already mentioned that. Well, from the last 20 years, our relations have been developing in a very positive way, and our leaders enjoy an active dialogue. Last year, Jokowi went to Moscow, had a very good meeting with President Putin. They conversed on the phone several times. Last year, we had 2 visits by our foreign minister, Mr. Lavrov, our head of our parliament, Mrs. Matviyenko, came to Indonesia. We supported very much the presidency of Indonesian G20. Now we're supporting the chairmanship of Indonesia in ASEAN because we are strategic partners with ASEAN. We're seeking to increase our trade. We've already mentioned some of the things we're doing, and economic relations. We have defense cooperation. We provide scholarships for Indonesian students. Right
Nice
now
to
we
hear
have
that.
around 800 Indonesian students studying in Russia. We need to do more. Of course, we need to do more. But I'm very optimistic about the very good future of our relations based on our traditional friendship, based on the closeness of our values and the way we see the world. And I can assure you, in Russia, we see Indonesia as one of our key partners in Asia Pacific and, of course, in ASEAN.
One last question, because I think it's already time's running out. Okay, one last question. As you know, Indonesia in February 2024 are going to have a presidential election. So, as you know, President Jokowi has to become president in 2 periods, and it cannot be elected again. So there is a new president. So, what do you, if you want to say anything to the new president regarding to the future relationship between Indonesia and Russia?
Well, I hope that whoever will be elected by Indonesian people will continue the very good cooperation between our two countries. That's our hope.
Yeah, that's our hope, of course.
So you don't have preference, or maybe he or one of will be close to...
You know, unlike many other countries, we don't interfere into
Okay.
domestic affairs.
Yes, yeah.
Whoever
Yeah,
the Indonesian people will
Uh-huh.
elect, we hope that we will still be very good friends and our cooperation will become even stronger.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Madam,
much.
last
Okay.
question.
in the last,
Okay.
Lavrosi and Retno had trilateral in
Yeah.
Jakarta. What do you think about that meeting? It will be effect for three nation or between Indonesia and Russia in the future?
Well, I think it was a very good meeting,
Mhm.
this between Russia, Indonesia, and China, and we hope that we will continue having some kind of interaction in this format. It was very useful and very good.
Is there any direction for Indonesia to join Brics or something?
If you have an official request, I think Brics will be considering because it's not up to Russia just to decide.
Yes, yes.
It's a multilateral
Mhm.
forum, but I think Indonesia is a very good candidate.
Yes. Okay.
Nice to hear that. Okay,
Thanks, Sudandi.
thank you very much, Madam
Thank you.
Ambassador,
Thank you.
for
Thank
your
you.
time,
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
willingness to accept us, accept the invitation. It's much honor for us. It's great pleasure and honor for us. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Okay.
you.